What's up, YouTube? Last week, with no Kawhi or Paul George in the lineup, Russell Westbrook went nuts. He scored 36 points, dished out 10 assists, hit all 5 of his attempts from 3, and generally looked like the best player on the floor in a Clippers win. He even took some time to have a friendly conversation with Dillon Brooks. And yes, 5 of 5 from 3 is a great night for most anybody in the NBA, Russ included. However, outside of the three-point shooting, I think everything that we saw from Russ in that game on both ends was more or less par for the course with him in a Clippers jersey so far. In this video, I thought I would take a look at how he's fit in, what he brings to their team, and what I think of their chances of making a deep playoff run this season. So the best thing I think that Russ brings to a team is his physicality and athleticism, and how smartly he uses those gifts to impact the game on both ends. First, let's look at finishing. Russ is shooting 66% at the rim so far as a Clipper, and one thing that sticks out on film is the versatility of the attempts. He still has the explosion and speed to beat you to the rim in transition, like he does here after a steal. He can beat you in the pick and roll, and he's still a great finisher off of cuts. Even if you do force a miss, you have to box him out or it's a bucket. And if you try to leave a guard on him in the post, he will make you pay. In fact, since joining the Clippers, among players with one or more post-ups a game, he's third in points per possession, behind only DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Durant. It's not just his finishing right at the rim either. Russ is also playing really efficiently around the basket in general. According to Basketball Reference, about 64% of his shots come from 16 feet and in, he's shooting over 60% on these looks. He's been hitting some threes of late, but Russ is still only shooting 28% from 16 feet and beyond as a Clipper, and still only shooting 67% from the line. Despite this, his current true shooting percentage and effective field goal percentage would both be career highs. It doesn't stop there either, because Russ is just as good at creating looks at the rim for his teammates as he is for himself. Zubac and Plumlee have definitely been the main recipients, but Russ has also been great finding cutters both in the half court and in transition. Look here as Russ stays in Jaren Jackson's way after the pass to allow Kawhi the space to finish. Feels like I've seen that somewhere before. Anyways, the numbers show the impact here too. The Clippers' activity and efficiency both in the paint and at the rim have skyrocketed since he got there. What about the shooting? It's known Russ isn't really the best shooter, and the teams don't really guard him from the outside. So has his shooting had a negative impact on the Clippers? In short, no. It's actually been the opposite. The Clippers were a great shooting team before Russ, but their overall three-point percentage, catch-and-shoot attempts, and catch-and-shoot percentage have all gone up since he got there. And this makes sense. Russ is still excellent at breaking down the defense and finding open shooters. His aggressiveness getting to the rim and the pace he plays at consistently gets those shooters wide open looks. And because the floor is consistently properly spaced, when teams do ignore Russ, there's nearly always an easy pass to a shooter or an open lane for a drive to the rim available, which is to say nothing about the havoc he can cause as an offensive rebounder when he gets free lanes to the rim. Watch here as he easily boxes out the opposing center for a rebound, and just under 6 seconds later, the Clippers have 3 more points. This is a great one. Russ starts this post-up at the three-point line and spins to get Van Fleet behind him, which means there's now 3 Raptors to guard 4 Clippers. Knowing this, he stares down the shooter in the corner to hold the defender before throwing a dot to PG on the wings. Also great relocation by PG to make sure the shot is as open as it is. The Clippers have also introduced a new wrinkle to Russ's game, and that is as a screener. It hasn't been something they've used often, but the early results have been really encouraging, and the shot qualities these plays have produced can't be ignored. Look at the chaos Russ can create as a screener. After passing to Kawhi in the post, Russ starts to post up himself. After realizing the baseline is wide open, Kawhi drives, and this Russ post up turns into a screen to spring this Kawhi dunk. This one's even more subtle. As the Raptors are trying to get matched up in transition, Kawhi hits man in the corner. As man starts his drive, watch Russ use a brush screen to force a switch. With Kawhi moving towards the corner, there's nobody to help on this man drive for a layup. So if Russ's best skill offensively is using his athleticism to create advantages for his teammates, then his best skill defensively is using that same athleticism to take away the advantages other teams try to create. Before the signing, I thought Russ fit in perfectly with the Clippers' defense because of his ability to switch and hold his own on mismatches, and that's proven true so far. At times, teams have a legitimately hard time trying to score when he's involved in the action. Perfect example here. This is a two-time MVP center in the post versus a point guard. If the Nuggets can get him the ball, it's almost certainly a bucket. But even after clearing out Gordon to make the pass easier, Russ is still able to get the deflection and steal. Here's another one. With Russ on Gordon in the post, the Nuggets try to run a big-to-big pick and roll. But instead of dropping back to guard the slip, Russ blitzes Jokic and gets the deflection. Look at how high he jumps in the air to get a hand on this ball, and it leads to an easy transition assist to Morris. We focused on the positive, but that doesn't mean that there haven't been bad games too. Even during bad games, though, like the one he had against the Blazers where he shot 3 for 12 and had 4 turnovers, Russ was still all over the floor, making his mark on the game as a playmaker, rebounder, and defender. Lots of players have bad shooting games every night in the NBA. How many can lead both teams in rebounds and assists while checking Damian Lillard to offset a bad shooting game, though? Overall, I think Russ has been a clear positive for the Clippers. He adds dimension to the game plan that weren't there before, and there's clear value in the sheer number of ways he can be used on both ends. The real test is and was always going to be the playoffs, but based on the first few months, I think there's reason to be optimistic about that aspect as well. As for the Clippers, if we break their season up into 3 parts, the games Kawhi was finding his rhythm after injury last year, the games he was healthy with Terrence Mann starting, and the last month and change of Russ starting, it's clear that the defense was a struggle before Russ got there, and those struggles have continued. Just being real about it, there's too much defensive talent on the floor for the Clippers to have constant breakdowns like this. Even after you factor in some of the injuries and rotations, to me, the effort and discipline has looked incredibly inconsistent, whether it's at the point of attack, sticking with shooters on the wings, tagging cutters off ball, or on the boards. With Kawhi healthy and playing like an MVP caliber player again, a very real return to form for Russ, and a solid amount of two-way depth, the Clippers, even without Paul George, can have something to say about who wins the West. I think this team is talented enough to compete defensively, and that there's a dynamic two-way group in this roster somewhere. However, after such an inconsistent season, can they make such a dramatic turnaround with so little time left before the playoffs? We'll have to see. Thanks for watching.